So, welcome to the studio of IKEA. So welcome to this very special conversation. I am Pilvi Torsti, Director of the European Training Foundation. Today I have a pleasure to have a very special guest here with us, the Ambassador Eduards Stiprais, who is the European Union Special Representative for Central Asia. Most welcome.
Thank you very much.
You have, of course, Ambassador Stiprais Eduards, and he's Latvian, so I can actually, as a Finn, pronounce his name finally properly. He has had a very distinguished diplomatic career representing both Latvia and now representing EU. You have served as a Latvian representative for the EU and now the EU representative for the Central Asia. But you also served the EU delegation for Uzbekistan before, so you know the region very well. This is a new role as of this year, and I thought we could start really, what does it mean to be EU Special Representative for Central Asia?
This is a very peculiar position because EU special representatives, they are appointed by the European Council. They are financed by the European Commission and functionally they're working together with the European External Action Service. So this is one of the rare truly European officials not belonging to any particular institution. So this is about what the EUSR is, but also this is very important because I'm tasked with developing of relations between two regions, Europe and Central Asia, and also in promoting internal integration within Central Asia as the, I would say, new political entity and not just a geographical notion as it used to be in the past.
Let us then look at a little bit where we are with Central Asia strategically as European Union. Earlier this year there was the first ever EU summit with the 5 Central Asian countries in the Samarkand, which many people know from other contexts, perhaps as a very beautiful special place. And it has been seen as kind of historical moment there. The political leaders concluded, and I quote, confirmed the commitment to intensify common efforts to deepen cooperation in the field of education, including vocational education and training and skills development. So from your perspective, do you think this summit opens a new phase in the EU-Central Asia relations, and what is different in that as compared to the past?
First and foremost, it was during the summit, in its final declaration, it was stated that we are entering the phase of strategic partnership with Central Asia. And this is also because we are fully recognizing the importance of this region for Europe, for our security, for our economic interests, and also for the connectivity across the Eurasian landmass. This is something which is extremely important. And of course, when we are looking at the Central Asia, its own security and stability, including the societal resilience, is extremely important. You exactly touched that part of the common declaration adopted in Samarkand, and that we should work on that part of the societal resilience which is related to the development of human capital. Region has enormous potential. I mean, demographically, it still has a positive growth, unlike in Europe, or the positive natural growth, I must say, not due to migration. So, it also might be the source of critical raw materials for us, which are necessary for our green transition and our digital transition. So cooperation in those areas is extremely important. For that, we need, first and foremost, transfer of technologies into the region, actually to tap on this potential. But transfer of technologies would mean nothing without the transfer of knowledge and skills. Because the latest, the most fanciest technology you could imagine, without people being able to operate it, is just a pile of junk. So, and this is very clearly understood by the leadership of all 5 countries in Central Asia. So, hence comes this additional emphasis on cooperation in area of education and vocational training.
The knowledge, human capital development part that you emphasized, and then if you take the demography, which you briefly mentioned, how could you actually describe, how does it look, the demography? I think you are quite good in numbers and you can package this as well, that we really understand how is the demography.
Just one example. The most populous country in the region is Uzbekistan. And actually, when I first moved to Tashkent, the population numbers were 34 million. And that was some 8-9 years ago. Yes, 9 years ago already. And now we are approaching, 40 million. So we had a population growth exceeding 500,000 people every year. And okay, one would say this is probably the most extreme example within the region, but still it shows, and there are projections that by 2050 we may have the growth of population from current approximately 70 million across the entire Central Asia, probably reaching 114 or so million inhabitants in the region. So this is a growth. And frankly speaking, there are resources other than human resources which are finite in the region. We are speaking about the agricultural land. We are speaking about the water. So in order to actually maintain satisfactory level of life within the region, countries, they are obliged to move up the value-added chain, to create more of those new jobs out of traditional sectors like, for example, agriculture, moving from the purely extracting industries into manufacturing, into refining, and that requires completely new set of skills.
If we then look at the sort of heritage, many of us know the region and the Silk Road heritage there. How do you see this renewed cooperation, skills development trends and so on, that we also now work in the Daria project at ETF? How can EU's own experience and the cooperation that we have had within the EU countries perhaps inspire Central Asia? And if I also add the Daria as a way of working for human capital development and with the emphasis on youth to this equation, where do you see that we can best bring added value?
I think based on our own experience within the European Union, moving from fragmented labor markets into a true free movement of labor. I mean, as one of 4 fundamental freedoms that, the European Union embodies, this is something that could be extremely important for the countries of Central Asia. Because for the most part of their modern history, independent history, which spans over almost 35 years, that was rather the process of disintegration, of discovering their own sovereignty or many things. Now we see that in Central Asia we have this reverse process of actual starting from merely cooperation between countries and peoples in Central Asia into some model of integration in their markets, because obviously there are some models of integration which are for common benefits, and they are realizing that, starting from issues like, for example, water management, which is the crucial issue in the Central Asia. Without close cooperation between downstream countries and upstream countries, this wouldn't work. Also, connectivity. Things like that, for that they may need and look into possibilities of creating more flexible labor markets. And also in terms of education and vocational training, they need at least comparable systems, if not identical ones.
So if I would then take that into a concrete example, when last October EU brought together the foreign ministers, representatives from member states, EU member states, but then Armenia, Azerbaijan, Republic of Moldova, Turkey, Ukraine and Central Asia to discuss exactly the cross-regional connectivity agenda to link EU with Central Asia via Turkey, South Caucasus. And there is of course also the global gateway through which there are initiatives to coordinate the strategic investment that would help then to boost connectivity, as part of it trade, efficient transport and so on, what you just discussed. So you would see that the implications for the education sector are actually very deep in this. It's both on the side of the needs to create the connectivity and then the potential opportunities that then emerge for different sectors.
Absolutely. We are speaking about creating a sort of the corridor of wealth, where we are not only speaking about the transit, the trains passing by, that people living next to it would just observe and probably with some astonishment or envy or something like that. No, we are speaking about creating the entire ecosystem around this corridor, which goes well beyond the Central Asia. We are speaking about the connectivity with Far East, with China, Japan, South Korea, with opportunity to creating also connections via Central Asia to South Asia. Who knows, one day Afghanistan could turn into probably a more modern country and will have access further to Indian subcontinent. So this is something that actually provides with opportunities. But to seize those opportunities, people need the skills, exactly, because otherwise it would be not for the benefit of population living there.
Then I moved just quickly also to the sustainability, green transition, green skills. There was a recent, again, joint communication of the European Commission on EU global climate and energy vision that is calling for both action and also support in this field. EU cooperation in Central Asia can of course help with the green jobs and the green skills and making the societies more low carbon economies. But I will give here an example. We at ETF, we do something called Green Skills Award. And one example we have is from Kazakhstan, where there was Mangistai Energy College, which was among the 5 finalists for this year, Green Skills Award, which trains young professionals in renewable energy through the dual education. So selected from more than 250 entries from more than 50 countries, we could actually demonstrate such an example from a country size of Kazakhstan, which is already preparing workforce for the green economy. So my question for you would be, how do you see such initiatives contributing to this sort of EU Central Asia cooperation, in particular now in terms of sustainability and green skills? And how could we scale up this in the region?
The most important thing when we speak about the Central Asia, it's that despite the fact that probably still countries of Central Asia are one of the highest pollutants in comparison to their GDP, but there is a growing understanding of those challenges that the climate change is bringing to the region. There is this emphasis on development of either low carbon or renewable energy sources in the region. And the region itself is well placed because in countries like in Uzbekistan, you have more than 300 sunny days a year. So development of solar energy is something which is, they are naturally predisposed. The upstream countries like Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan, they are making their emphasis on development of hydropower, which is again quite beneficial. In western parts of Central Asia, on the shores of the Caspian Sea, there are sort of the persistent winds. So both Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan and the western parts of Uzbekistan, they are well suited to develop that part. And also looking at the ways how to reduce human consumption for energy, for water, looking into circular economy. And those are, new areas in terms of human occupation, where they need to develop completely new set of those skills and knowledge. Those are emerging areas where we can actually invest because of our global interconnection and interdependence. The sooner countries of Central Asia would be able to achieve their green transition, sooner we in Europe might feel the impact of that.
Now I will move to something that we always do in conversation with Pilvi Torsti. So we had as our previous guest Timo Harakka, deputy member of the parliament from Finland, serving, for instance, the Committee of Futures, but has also served as a minister in charge of digitalization and transport. And his question that he left, not knowing who is answering to it, was, how do we ensure that transforming technologies will benefit humankind?
Unfortunately, we cannot be sure. There is this popular saying that there are only two certain things in this life. Those are death and taxes. We cannot transfer technologies without transferring our attitude towards the humanity as such. It should be accompanied with clear understanding that technology is not the goal, it's the means to improve our life. And if we can ensure that this is universally understood, there will be this sort of universal benefit. Unfortunately, we have many examples from our recent history that technology itself is not creating better life, especially when it's misused.
Thank you. And now I, of course, will, Eduards, give you the challenge to leave a question for someone that comes after. And even I don't know who that person will be.
I hope my handwriting is not that terrible.
I will figure it out. Thank you very much. And now my very last question, and the answer in sort of 10 seconds format. When you look at Central Asia, you went there to work there almost 10 years ago. You currently work for the region. What's your kind of dream for the region? What do you dream to see?
I would say modern society, but being able to keep its sort of the distinctive nature. Global in its sort of the understanding of the world, yet very local in bringing the best that it still has.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Stiprais, for this reply and for a very thoughtful conversation that I think was inspiring not only for me, but for many of our viewers, some who have been in Central Asia, some who probably will go there. We definitely are strengthening the ties with EU and with the region. So thank you. And this was In Conversation with Pilvi Torsti. Thank you for being with us today and looking forward for the next time.